The certainty. I am hesitant, because I know what I should do, but I am hesitant to do it. I don't know why I hesitate. She has given me no reason not to. I feel a fool and a chump, and I hate feeling this way, and at the same time I feel like I cannot gain any traction. So here it goes. I am a 54-year-old retired guy. I was married back in the early 90s, but that marriage only lasted 4 years. I'm not really a player, and although I have had many relationships over the years, settling down was never really an option for me. That was until I met my current girlfriend, let's call her Sarah, back in June 2019. We met at a backyard barbecue hosted by a mutual friend who worked with her. Sarah was 45 at the time, beautiful and vivacious. I had never met any woman quite like her, and we hit it off. She really seemed to like me, and for me it was lust at first sight. We went out on our first date the next week and dated exclusively from that point on. Sarah was married for 20 years before divorcing her husband in 2018. She has 2 teenage boys and she shares joint custody with her husband. I live 1 town over from Sarah, and since we started dating, she has driven from her town to mine, about 25 miles, to spend weekends with me. Sometimes, when her ex-husband and sons were out of town, I would travel over to her place and we would hit the town and have fun. Sarah is very outgoing and has a huge circle of friends, most of them married couples. It seemed like every weekend I went there she had some plans for us to go to different social activities with her circle of friends. That was fine with me because I'm a sociable guy and I like people. I was accepted by the group and became good friends with several of the husbands. As I said, I am retired, so I would hang out with these guys and play golf occasionally. I never put any pressure on Sarah when it came to our dating. I never made any demands, and that is what she says she loved about me. If a particular weekend came and she wasn't in the mood for company, I didn't go see her. When the lockdown hit, we continued our relationship by video every night and then continuing on with seeing each other when the restrictions lifted. There were no problems really. As for commitment, she told me many times that she was not looking for a husband, but just wanted to enjoy the kind of easygoing relationship we had. In March of last year was when she told me for the first time that she loved me, and even though she was not in any hurry to settle down again, I was definitely the man she would want to spend the rest of her life with. Up until recently, bonding was frequent and very good. We are definitely compatible in bed, so that's not an issue. Now comes the issue and my dilemma. I asked her many times over the past year and a half if she considered us an exclusive couple. I told her back in March 2020 that I needed to know if she was dating other men so that I could feel free to date other women if I wanted. She vehemently told me no. I only want to date you. And that is when she told me she loved me, and I reciprocated because I do. But then something happened last month that has put our good relationship into a tailspin. On May 10, 2021, Sarah's ex-mother-in-law passed of a sudden heart attack. She and her ex-in-laws had remained very close after her divorce from their son, and the news hit her hard. The ex-mother-in-law was like a mom to her, and the loss devastated her. I drove to see her and held her for hours while she cried into my chest. I did what I could to help the family prepare for the old woman's funeral. I sat with her ex-father-in-law, who is a wheelchair-bound Korean War vet with dementia, and kept him distracted while Sarah and her ex-husband went to the funeral home and made arrangements. Over the next week I drove to her house every evening to console her and the boys. I cooked her and the boys dinner and then drove back home each night. I was invited to the funeral, so I went. This was when I first realized that something was off. I sat in the back while Sarah sat next to her ex-husband and the boys with the family. I stayed to the side during most of the proceedings, talking to Sarah's friends and chatting with people who had come to pay their respects, but Sarah barely spoke to me during the whole day. She never left her ex-husband's side, and they even held hands at the burial. It was weird. I felt like an interloper. Then at the reception it was the same thing. I went up to Sarah a couple times and tried to give her a hug, but it seemed like she didn't want me to. I milled around with some people in the backyard. Then I went inside and helped with dishes. I could see Sarah and her ex sitting on the living room couch talking to people. They looked like a married couple. I know it sounds petty, but I started to get really mad. I'm one of those guys who retreats into myself when I am angry, so I just kept my head down and we finished cleaning the kitchen. I told Sarah's boys I was leaving and gave them hugs, and then I went to Sarah and told her I was heading home. She looked irritated and asked me why I was leaving. She told me not to leave and said she wanted to spend some time with me, and if I would just wait, she would get with me. Well, I waited another hour and she never did. She sat with her ex and talked long into the evening with some people I didn't know. Finally, I just grabbed my keys and left. It was probably a juvenile move, but I was hurt and disappointed. I drove a half hour back home and did not receive a call from her until another half hour after that. "Where are you? Where did you go?" she demanded angrily. I told her it was very late and that I wanted to get back home before midnight because I had to get up early the next day to meet with a mortgage agent to start the process of refinancing my house, which was true. She asked me why I was mad and I denied it. I was. She knew I was lying and asked me what my problem was and why I was acting like a child on a day when she was trying to concentrate on her family. I didn't know what to say, so I just apologized to her for not saying goodnight, and we talked about a couple more things and then she hung up. Since that night things between us have been tense. I went to see her the next weekend and she was somewhat cold and distant, but weirdly the bonding was off the charts good. Really hot. Afterwards she told me that she could only see me that night because she was going with her ex-husband to church the next day to see their oldest boy baptized. I asked if I could come and she made up some excuse as to why I shouldn't, and that pissed me off. So, I just got up to go home. She kissed me goodnight and she told me she was sorry if she was being crappy but that her ex-mother-in-law's passing was hitting her hard. I told her I wanted to be there for her but she keeps pushing me away. She denied that and told me she loves me and that I need to be patient with her. Then this past weekend I asked her if she wanted to come over and she said no, that she had plans, but that she promised she would spend the 4th of July weekend with me. Well, since this past Sunday I have not heard from her. This past Monday I joined this group and I'm here looking for advice. I think she is back with her ex-husband and won't admit it. I want to confront her but have no real evidence other than her behavior to back up my suspicions. Am I being a big selfish baby? Should I just back off and let her do what she is going to do? I don't want people thinking I am trying to control her. I have no desire to control her. In fact, the whole thing about our relationship she loved is how chill I have tried to be around her. No expectations or demands. But the way she flat out ignored me at the funeral really hit me hard. Or am I overacting about that whole thing? Look, I know she and her husband have a long history, but they divorced amicably, and during the time I have been dating her the ex has not really been a factor up until his mom passed. I know that I don't have a claim on Sarah, but dang. We expressed our commitment to each other. I really love this woman and I saw a future with her. Maybe she doesn't love me as much as she thought she did. Or maybe she has just been playing me for a fool this whole time, using me as a stopgap until she could get back with her husband. She texted me "Good morning H" for the first time in 3 days this morning. I don't even know if I want to answer her. Part of me says end this stupid charade and move on, and the other part of me says to answer the text. As much as I understand she is grieving, I have that gut feeling she is two-timing me. No actual proof. Should I trust my gut? I have read many threads on this site and that seems to be the consensus. Should I break it off for good with her, or just pull way back and wait to see what she does? There are too many red flags for me to ignore. She seems overtly preoccupied with her ex-husband, and that should be the writing on the wall. I think I want to play it cool and not chase her. I'm going to back off and see if she chases me or comes after me to know why I am not kissing her bottom. My comment: I think that you might be right that she might have spent more time with the ex emotionally, physically, or both. Guilt is probably playing in that role with her on some level. She was supposed to be at your place this weekend, so I would play it cool right now and respond casually and see if she plans on coming or not. If she does come, I would then have the conversation face to face whether she has been physical with her ex, and where you two stand. If that comes to pass, she is sleeping with him, I would tell her then neither of you are exclusive nor you are open to see others as well. I think this will really piss her off. If she is back with ex, it will not last long because the reason they divorce in the first place is probably unresolved and will come back to haunt them again. But she needs to know you are not going to wait and just move on. OP responds. I texted her back "Good morning" and that was it. No response. Well, I'm not playing schoolyard games with her. I'm going to hold back and go on with my life. If she wants to chase me, she can. If she doesn't, then I have my answer. From what she told me, they had grown apart and were constantly fighting over kids, finances, etc. According to her, the relationship had grown toxic. She never told me if any infidelity was involved, but I never asked either. Her husband is fully aware. He has a girlfriend whom he openly dates and I am acquainted with her. I have thought about giving her a call to see if she knows what is up. She was the one who brought up exclusivity last year when I broached the subject. I was ready to go either way, but she said she only wanted us to date each other, and that is when she admitted she had fallen in love with me. Now, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just infatuation and this family tragedy has snapped her out of it. Maybe it was only a one-way love affair. He has a girlfriend. She's younger than Sarah and quite hot. I know I'm being led around by the nose and I need to go cold turkey off her. But I have invested a lot to end it all over for what right now are just assumptions. That is why I am pulling back and watching. But I won't wait forever. I have waded into the river too deeply. I'm going to pull way back and give her space. If she wants to contact me, she can. I won't be rude or mean. I have treated her with kid gloves so far and I won't change that. I did know the MIL by the way and interacted with her many times. The reason I am sure she is back with the ex-husband is because the waterfall of love has been shut off to a trickle, literally over the course of a week. Kind of like when the Army Corps of Engineers diverted Niagara Falls back in 1969 in order to clean the trash. Who does this unless they have found a new person to focus their love on? I am thinking I was a surrogate for her husband. It is already evening and she still has not contacted me since this morning. This is so frustrating. So, she just called me out of the blue a couple hours ago. This is the first time in days she has actually called me. She was talking to me without a care in the world, as if she had just talked to me this morning. Well, she wants to know if I still want her to come over this weekend, except that she can't stay past Saturday noon because she has to go home and get ready for a lawn party at her house on Sunday. I told her I could come and help her and she shut that down quickly. She gave me some weird lame-ass reason why I should not come to the party, so I guess you all can see where this is going. I'm going to play along, and when she comes over Friday night I'm going to sit down and have a heart-to-heart with her. I'm tired of being played like this. I'm probably going to just break up with her because I'm too old to be participating in a junior high school cafeteria romance. Someone asked how or what I have invested over the past 2 years. 2 very nice, exotic vacations that I paid for. I usually paid for all our meals, even though she makes as much with her salary as I do with my retirement. I have helped a great deal with finishing up the remodeling of her house, not so much monetarily, but with my sweat and knowledge of construction. I helped her get competitive bids on the work and helped steer her through a big blow-up with an unscrupulous contractor. She has a long way to go with the house, but I helped her get a long ways down the road with it. I became a good friend to her boys and was even giving the older one free guitar lessons. I was her sounding board for every bad day she had at work, every argument she had with ex-husband concerning the boys, every little victory in her life she shared with me. I was her insider, and now I'm suddenly on the outside. What is hard to accept is how fast I have fallen from grace. I did absolutely nothing wrong except maybe spoiled her with too much attention. I guess she prefers the chaos of her ex-husband. I just called her back and canceled. I told her to have fun at her party. I didn't give her time to reply and just hung up on her. I'm blocking her number too. Talking is a waste of time, so I'm going dark. Screw her. Update. Feeling like a chump today and mourning what I thought would be the last relationship I would have in my life. Anyways, my phone has been blowing up with calls from her friends, and even one of her boys texted me. I sent him a text telling him that I would always be he and his brother's friend, that his mom and I won't be seeing each other anymore, and that he and his brother can contact me by text me if they need anything. I thought long and hard about this whole situation, and I have come to the conclusion that even if her behavior was related to mourning, I should still be the first one she should be coming to for comfort, and the exact opposite has happened. I have been to many of her family functions, and to be excluded from this party is a slap in the face. Even if she wasn't cheating with her husband or some other rando, the poor treatment and lack of respect from her bodes a bad future for us. Cheating or no cheating, she is not good partner material for me. I just don't understand why now. It has to do with her ex. I guess I will hear from someone eventually, but right now I just want to lay low and disappear. She said the party would be her brother's family and her boys. I don't like her brother and she know it. He's an ass, but I would have been civil and behaved myself and probably just stayed outside and did the cooking. No, it was an excuse to not invite me is all. So, when I got back to town last night, I turned my cell back on and there were probably 20 texts from friends and one from her oldest boy. He told me that she had invited his dad for the party on Sunday and that she and her dad were very touchy-feely, so he thinks they are back together. He asked her why she didn't invite me and he says she looked embarrassed and told him that she and I had broken up. He's not happy about it and I told him he could call me later today if he wanted to talk. I'm just a middle-aged man who worked hard for 25 years at his profession, invested his money wisely, and was able to retire early with plenty of money in the bank to never have to worry about money again for the rest of his life. I'm a man whose first wife cheated on him after only 3 years of marriage, and then because of the abominable laws of the state of California, was forced to pay her over $150 and give her a relatively brand new BMW to get her out of his life. I'm a man who lives in a modest but elegant 3,000 square foot house in a clean and quiet small city in Southern California. I own this house outright, I have no debts, and I only have to use credit cards for making reservations. I pay for everything with cash. I finance nothing. Sarah's ex is a good 30 pounds heavier than me, is up to his eyeballs in debt, and last year had to file for an extension on his taxes. He is nowhere near as knowledgeable or as talented as I am, and I am far and away much better looking. So, it is not because of his qualities that Sarah wants to get back with him. I think Sarah misses the dysfunction. Looking back, she would often pick fights with me for no reason or make up reasons to get mad at me. I should have seen those behaviors as serious red flags. Some people cannot let go of drama and dysfunction, and the more I really stand back and look at Sarah objectively, there were some glaring red signs that I should have seen early on but chose to ignore. Maybe Sarah got back together with her ex because ultimately, she felt more comfortable with the old life. Maybe my perception of our relationship was more positive than hers. I don't know why she would end it so suddenly and go back to a man who she didn't seem to care about at all while we were dating. I am still racking my brain over the possibilities. It doesn't make sense. Some of the common friends I have talked to cannot make sense of it either. One gal even told me she thought Sarah has gone a bit bonkers. One positive I can come away with is that most of the people I have talked to have been sympathetic and supportive. Some could care less, but the ones I got close to are scratching their heads. The older boy did call me late yesterday. I spent a good portion just comforting him. He knows the score and is pissed at his mom for the way she has handled this whole thing. He wasn't crying, but he was on the verge of it. He flat out doesn't want his parents back together, and I didn't want to tell him what to do, because I don't want Sarah coming back and accusing me of setting her sons against her. I told the boy that I would always be his friend, that he needed to love his mom and understand that sometimes emotions cause people to make hasty decisions, but that he should just keep being himself. I told him that he and his brother could call me anytime if they wanted to vent. I also told him I was sending him a new electric guitar and amp for his birthday, because several weeks before I promised I would get him one if he mastered his bar chord progressions. He has, and so there is a nice stuff heading his way. I wish I could say I was being strong and handling it like a champ, but truth be told I feel like the high school junior who got dumped by his girlfriend for the senior jock. It does hurt badly. I invested way too much of my heart into this woman. I know I only have myself to blame, but as I look towards the second half of my life, I'm not too crazy about spending it alone. I was hoping she was the one. So, this morning I unblocked Sarah's number and my phone loaded up with 56 missed calls and 23 texts. I flushed the texts without reading them. What would be the point? Deleted the calls and re-blocked her. I am also thinking about blocking most if not all of the common friends. I really don't want to be anywhere in her galaxy anymore. I'm so sick of this crap. The nice thing about living in California is that my chances of running into Sarah out in public are virtually nil. There will be no going back with her, not even as any kind of FWB in the future after her second try with her ex-husband fails, and it will. Something interesting happened over the weekend. I got a call from a female friend of Sarah's, I'll call her Barb. Barb called me out of the blue Saturday night asking what the hell was going on, and that she had seen Sarah and her ex-husband together at the local grocery store. Apparently, she has been out of town for the last 3 weeks and just got back Friday. During the time I was with Sarah, I got to be really good friends with Barb and her husband. So, I filled Barb in on what I knew and what happened between me and Sarah, and she got seriously pissed. I could hear her boiling on the phone, and she called Sarah some pretty choice names. Barb told me that the next time she saw Sarah she was going to give her a piece of her mind. She does not like Sarah's ex at all, and she told me that I was the best thing that happened to Sarah and that she couldn't believe that she would dump me to go back to her ex. I told her I couldn't explain it either. Anyways, she invited me to her house this coming weekend to watch the playoffs with her and her husband, so I think I will go. It's better than staying home and stewing. It's not a party. I'm just going over to their house for dinner and to watch the game with them. They live about halfway between me and Sarah, so it is no big deal traveling there. Barb is a good lady and she didn't want me spending the playoffs alone. Actually, I had originally planned to go watch the playoffs at a sports bar where many of my local friends go, so I wasn't going to be alone anyways. I honestly don't think Barb would set me up. I think she is legitimately pissed that Sarah dumped me the way she did. I am going on a dating moratorium for at least a year or until I get over Sarah. I don't need a rebound fiasco. Been there, done that. Sound like I am manipulating him and using him to get back in touch with Sarah. I most certainly am not. I simply do not want his dad or mom getting pissed off when they see the gift is from me. I told him how to answer them when they ask him about it, and if they try to make him give it back then he can call me, or they can. I have no issue telling Sarah that this has nothing to do with me or her ex-husband, and that I am only following through with a promise I made to her son. This kid has been jerked around so much the past few years, he doesn't need another adult jerking him around. Also, I fully expect as time goes on the boy, 15, will get lost in the maze of high school friends and events, and I will be forgotten. That is normal. I will be here for him but I will not call him. I do not have any intention of contacting Sarah directly again, nor do I want to get back with her. No excuse she could come up with would be good enough for me, and she has shown me she is untrustworthy. A scorpion's nature is to sting, and this fox won't get fooled again. The dinner with Barb and her husband went well and was a much-needed respite from the loneliness I have been feeling over the past 2 weeks. We ate, drank, got lit, and had an awesome time watching the game. It was the first real substantial meal I have had in weeks that I didn't try to throw up. Thankfully, we did not talk about Sarah or my situation at all. Barb was doting on me all night and chastising me for not eating and looking like crap. I think she feels bad on behalf of her crappy girlfriend. It was only when the driver came to pick me up that Barb gave me a hug and told me that Sarah was an idiot for dumping me, and that one day she would live to regret it. Barb is a good gal. Her husband and I got to be friends because we are both into commodity trading online. It's a weird way to bond with another guy, but we did. He's a fun golf partner too, a keeper as far as friends go. Barb was friends with Sarah because they used to work together. Their friendship was already a bit shaky when I came onto the scene. I forgot to mention that I also gave Barb a box of Sarah's things she left at my house. Barb is going to take them to her, or maybe already has. The box includes lingerie and her pocket rocket. Sarah's son and friends confirm she and ex got back together after the funeral. No guessing here, Fluffy. And I was not tired of her. The exact opposite, actually. The issue I'm having a hard time resolving was just how good an actress and manipulator she is. I guess I just feel like I should have seen some signs before it all went down. I have been a steady dater all my adult life, from right after my first marriage ended all the way to the present. I have dated and slept with many women. I could always tell within the first 10 minutes of a date whether or not I would take her back home, take her to bed, or ask her out on a second date. Sarah was the first gal in over a decade that I ever felt like this may be the one. She may be the one I can settle down with. I mean, she deserves an Oscar for her performance. She totally pulled the wool over my eyes. Completely and utterly suckered. Sarah's boy got his guitar and stuff last night. He called me up and is over the moon. Played some licks for me over the phone. The kid has some chops and he's so young. I asked if his mom was alright with it and he said she didn't say anything, so that's a relief. We talked a bit about how he's doing in school and it was a nice chat. Told him I wouldn't be around anymore but that he should keep my phone number if he ever needs someone to talk to. I will start backing away now. Well, it is the last time I ever get involved with a recent divorcee or any girl with kids. It hurts too bad to let go. Deep down I always wanted kids and I felt kind of like a surrogate dad to the two boys, even though I know that was wrong to do so. I also realize I was her rebound, and that just never works out. I was such an idiot to get that deep. I want to clarify something. Sarah's husband is not a bad guy, and he's a good father to his boys. I saw myself as their doting uncle, but I didn't realize how much I had bonded with them until now. No, the ex-husband is not a bad guy in and of himself. He has his crap together in terms of employment. His only drawback is that he's socially awkward and grumpy. He and Sarah were just not getting along for years, and that's why they divorced, or so that is the story I have been told. The bio dad, like I said, is not a bad guy, but he has a short temper and is surly. He is from somewhere on the East Coast and has that rather brash personality that can rub people here out west the wrong way. The older son and his dad really never bonded well. I don't know why for sure, but they were never really close from what I could see. The younger boy seems very close to the ex-husband and has a lot of his father's traits. So, I am thinking of boarding up the house and going to Spain next month. There is a guitar teacher who is doing a month of classes 4 days a week, and I have always wanted to visit Spain and learn to play better. I'm really considering it. I contacted him and he has some slots available. It would be a great opportunity to better myself at my favorite passion and would allow me to get some distance from all this crap I've been going through. Looks like a gorgeous town and the prices for hotels are dirt cheap. So, I'm signed up. I'll be flying to Madrid on the 30th. And I'm telling only my family I'm going. Man, it's fun being impulsive. I hope to make some friends there. Not romantic ones. Even as tempting as Spanish women are, I plan on immersing myself in my courses, practicing for hours every day, seeing some sights, and enjoying some good food and sangria, all the while surrounded by good music and good people. Why didn't I just tell her why I left the funeral? Well, I have to defend myself a bit here. It was a funeral. Sarah's mother-in-law was a much-loved person and everyone was in mourning. I was sort of taking care of the boys and helping them deal with stuff. And as irritated as I was with Sarah hanging on her ex all day and evening, I did not want to confront her at a time when she too was in deep mourning. When she called me that night she had been crying, so I didn't feel it was the time to confront her about it. Sarah's MIL was like a mother to her in many ways. Sarah's own mom is not that great. Her mom went to the funeral but bailed and did not even go to the burial or reception. We did get together the next week, but the only thing good about that weekend was the bonding. Sarah was sullen, subdued and not talkative, so I didn't bring it up because she didn't, and frankly I just felt like it wasn't time. That was probably my mistake, but I can't go back and change it. She just apologized for kind of ignoring me at the funeral, and then we went in the bedroom and had crazy monkey bonding after that. I think, looking back, maybe that was some sort of goodbye bonding and she was getting ready in her mind to dump me. She just didn't know how she was going to go about it at the time. I really wasn't trying to play mind games. My intent between the time of the funeral and the time we broke up was to give her space. Everyone I get messages from and corresponded with on these boards all told me to back off. Back off. Give her space. Don't smother her. Give her time. Blah blah blah. So, see, I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. It was only when she barred me from coming to her 4th of July party that I cut off contact and went dark. I could see what was happening and I knew in my gut at that moment that she was back together with her ex. I did tell her why. That next weekend I told her I was hurt seeing her holding hands with her ex and then pretty much treating me like I didn't exist. I told her I left because the crowd had trickled to nothing and I didn't feel like waiting in the den while she and ex-hubby talked to the last few people in the living room, so I left. I apologized for not telling her goodnight before I left, even though I didn't think she really deserved an apology. And she did apologize. Then she just sort of jumped me. Between the time her mother-in-law passed and the funeral I was there for her the whole time and she leaned on me heavily. She cried herself to sleep in my arms 2 or 3 times that week. It was only a couple of days before the funeral and during the funeral itself that the wind suddenly changed and the whole situation took a hard 90 degrees. It was like a switch was pulled and suddenly I'm out in the cold looking in through the window. I definitely did not push her into his arms. She broke from me, turned around and walked back to him with no warning. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. This situation was anything but normal. And for what it is worth, I did tell her how I was feeling in a non-irritable way. The only social faux pas I made was not saying goodnight to her properly the night of the funeral. However, it would not have changed anything if I had. She had already made up her mind, you see. She knew I was pissed, and she knew why, but she threw it back on me and made me out to be the bad guy that night. I should have never given her that ammo. I see that now, and I see how she manipulated the situation to make herself look like the poor put-upon girlfriend. Well, there are those here who think I should have reacted in the way a husband would. Well, I wasn't her husband. I was a boyfriend, a very serious boyfriend, and we were in what I thought was a serious relationship. So in reality, I did not have the obligation to act the way a husband would act. Husbands must be more subtle and play the long game, more so than a boyfriend has to, because they are looking at losing half of everything they have. The stakes are higher, so the way a husband handles situations like this has to be a lot different. I think some people assume I have risen above this situation and am handling it like a boss. Well, I certainly do not feel that way. I miss her terribly, and my jealousy towards her ex-husband is robbing me of sleep and causing me no end of anxiety. I feel like crap. That is why I am going to Spain, not just to pursue a passion, but to get my mind off of Sarah and put some distance between myself and this whole situation. My comment: no one in their right mind would say this is easy to get over. You are fighting through the bad feelings and doing something about it. You could be lying on the ground feeling sorry for yourself, honestly, probably what I would do, or you can get up and do something about it. I think your trip to Spain is a perfect idea, and I think it will help tremendously on your way to healing. Part 2 ending will come later tonight. Sub and bell if you want to see OP's final update.